fair few 100-mile round-trip journey. He attended reporting pulsatile tinnitus in his left ear actually. The pulsatile tinnitus wasn't cardio synchronized, so sometimes if you've got a blocked ear you can hear your own heartbeat, your pulse, and we call that cardio synchronized. Sometimes people also hear that if they've got a blocked carotid artery, so it's something that needs to be further investigated. Another reason for pulsatile tinnitus is a glomus tumour, which is almost a swelling developing behind the eardrum from the base of the ear canal, so from the base of the middle ear. But that will typically be visible. You'll see a large red swallowing behind the eardrum at the bottom, so inferiorly. Patient didn't have either of that, so we're hoping that just by removing the wax it's resolved his tinnitus. So this video is going to be most certainly appealing to those who love skin peels. So we're in the right ear here. I've removed a large chunk of wax, and the rest of the procedure is actually just dead skin that's just half shedded, so it's almost ready to be naturally removed on its own accord. But with this patient, I don't believe his ears naturally migrate skin. They just shed and they collect in the ear, and you'll see once I remove the dead skin from the ear canal, there's almost like a spider web appearance of his eardrum, because he's also got dead keratin, dead skin on his eardrum. So remember, the eardrum itself is also keratin, and that does shed skin, and that skin naturally migrates. Interestingly, if you were to put and I know that someone that has done this as part of their PhD studies on the anatomy of the ear canal and eardrum. They got some participants and they got a black permanent marker, and they made a mark on the eardrum, and then they asked that participant to reattend, I think every couple of weeks, and they took images of the ears, and what they found was that this black marker was slowly but surely migrating as the skin was migrating. So initially the black marker was on the center of the eardrum. 2 weeks later it was on one side of the eardrum, so the skin migrates to the sides. The following fortnight it was on the medial canal walls, so near the eardrum, and so on, until eventually that black marker was no longer visible. So just using a fine end tip, skin keratin can be really difficult to remove. This is depends what type. This patient had really sticky, adhesive dead skin, so you're really having to pull. It wouldn't really be causing him any symptoms at the moment, that dead skin. However, the reason for me trying to peel this is because there was also a layer of dead keratin on the tympanic membrane on the eardrum. So quite often to remove that, you also have to peel skin off the ear canal wall. The camera lens just got a bit foggy there, so I just came out and wiped it using an Alco wipe. And we're just going for the dead skin anteriorly and superiorly, so to the roof. I had a comment the other day, someone was saying that I'm using all this audiological, I think they called it audiography terms when it should be audiological. You may have realised when I do narrate over the videos, I have got a varied kind of subscription base. So some are medical students, some audiologists, but also some people, members of the public, and whenever I'm trying to explain the anatomy of the ear, I feel as though, and I apologise if I don't, I always give, where possible, the medical name, but I then also repeat the kind of the more layman public name. So keratin is, we can call that skin, dead skin. Tympanic membrane is eardrum. Medial is when we're deep in the ear. Lateral is when we're in the outer part of the ear, so it's away from the midline. Anterior is to the front, posterior to the back, so that can vary. So in the right ear, as we are now, anterior is to the right, posterior is to the left, and that's the inverse when we do the left ear. Inferior is the bottom, so south, and superior is north, so the roof, and sometimes we call that the attic on the eardrum. So anyway, we're back. We can see this layer of skin being peeled off the tympanic membrane. They actually had, I think, a couple of layers. So this is the first layer of keratin that I removed. Still some at the top of the eardrum. And you can see it does sometimes, if you look at the bottom of some skin there, it does almost give like a spider's web appearance. And as with any procedure that we perform medially, so deep in the ear on the bony portion of the ear canal or the eardrum, we just have to be super cautious and delicate. We don't want to make contact. So you can see it's still got a bit of got this underlayer of dead skin as well. So they had 2 layers of dead keratin. So I think I've just going back in with the fine end, but in a moment I will be bending the fine end to get access to the dead skin at the top and top right, so the northeast. So I've got this dead skin off the base, superiorly off the eardrum, just in the anterior recess. Sometimes it's just not possible to peel all the skin. It's so adhered and it's not ready to be removed. And when we do the left side, you'll see there's a bit of dead skin left on the annulus at the bottom of the eardrum, so superiorly, that I just left because there's no need to remove and it wasn't ready to come out. So I've just made a kink in the fine end. You can probably see that kink, and it just allows me access, safe access to the anterior recess, and I'm just vacuuming that underlayer, that second coat of dead skin. So that's all complete now, just mopping up near the entrance. The patient was very relieved. He actually has got an NHS ENT appointment, I think, next week, but he came across me on YouTube. I know he's going to be watching this, so hello there, patient from Swindon who attended today. So just on the left side, so this is the ear that the patient had pulsatile tinnitus, and he came in today with a huge piece of wax that he said came out of his ear a few weeks ago. He's been putting drops, and that piece was humongous. And considering he's also got this large piece, I was just quite shocked by how much debris he had in his ear. So you saw there was wax, and you saw the coating of dead keratin, that white glossiness. So the occlusion's gone, but again, he's got a lot of dead skin on this side. The skin, the thickness is a lot of a thicker layer of skin, so I had to work a bit harder. And also in this ear, his ear canal was a bit more twisty, so you can probably see I've got the endoscope camera straight ahead, and I can see the ear canal wall straight ahead of me, and the bend is to the left, so it's probably about 35 to 40 degree bend, which does make procedure sometimes a bit more difficult because we're having to navigate his ear canal, the bend, as at the same time peeling the skin off. So I'm just working on the posterior canal wall. You can just see how much thicker this layer of dead keratin is compared to the right side. I'm using the fine end gauge. The fine end is always the most recommended instrument to use with dead skin, unless it's really dry and crusted where you can use forceps to remove. If you use a standard Zollner suction probe, you tend to get clarinetting of the dead skin. The dead skin gets trapped at the entrance of the suction tip, and it flaps and violently, and as it flaps it emits a very high frequency squeal, which is really deafening actually. So remove the lateral, so lateral means near the entrance of the ear canal. Remove the majority of skin there. We're just on this inner medial layer, which is always a bit more difficult and complex because it is adhered to the bony part of the ear canal, and we want to avoid making contact with that because the bony part of the ear canal, the inner 2/3, the layer of skin is only 0.1 millimeters, and there's no fatty tissue. It's literally skin directly on bone. Very uncomfortable for patients if you do make contact with that. The outer third, the skin layer is a lot thicker. It's a millimeter thickness, so 10 times the thickness of the skin that coats the inner 2/3. It's made up of cartilage and also a layer of fatty tissue, so it's got a buffer effect almost. If you wriggle the outside part of your ear, which is made up of cartilage, you'll see that's not painful unless you've got otitis externa, an inflammation or infection of the ear canal. So just going back in, just trying to peel off this dead keratin. So I've navigated that that bend, so I've got the full view of the eardrum here. But he's also got a prominent anterior recess. So on the left hand side, so anterior, remember, it's the front part. So on the left side, it's to the in the left ear, the front is to the left, and it's the bone there kind of protrudes outwards, and then it curls back in, which creates a little cave, or what we call an anterior recess, to the left of the eardrum. You can just see how delicate I am there, just trying to avoid the bony part of the ear canal. as I said a few times before, it's never possible to remove every little grain of wax or fleck of dead skin. And the main reason why I'm doing it again, there is some dead skin on the eardrum, at the roof of the eardrum. I'm hoping as I peel the keratin off the canal wall, it will also peel off the dead keratin on the eardrum. You can see there's some wax and dead skin at the roof, so it's really just peeling that off as well. So keratin, it's almost like sticky tape. It's really adhesive. It does literally stick to the ear canal. So just going back in, just want to mop up some of this dead skin on the eardrum. It's not as bad as the right side. Again, so just going really deep. And it's just a bit in the anterior recess. Hard to get access there, so I left that. And again, this wasn't going to come out, so just decided to leave that in the end. We've done a good enough job already. We don't want to be over cute and cause trauma. Patient symptoms hopefully relieve themselves. So hope you enjoyed that video, guys. If you're watching on YouTube for the first time, please do subscribe to the channel, select the bell icon so you'll get notified as and when I upload new videos. Feel free to leave a comment, like the video, and similarly on Facebook, comment, like, share the video, and subscribe, follow and like.